Well, happy Friday to everybody. It is so wonderful to be back again with another Sweet Talk. Sweet Talk is presented by Suite Life SoCal magazine. We have our current feature, our spring issue, Spring into Greatness, featuring the wonderful, the great Coach Wendy Gladney regarding her season of greatness. And so we are here with another awesome show. And I am your host, Sarah Harris, publisher of Suite Life SoCal magazine. I'm just so delighted to be back again with another amazing show for you today. This topic is near and dear to my heart. And when I found out about this particular project, this venture, I just like got giddy, and I called and I made a phone call and I called up and had a wonderful conversation with our guest today. Before I get into that, I also wanted to just kind of highlight a one of our sponsors, and we wouldn't be able to do it without them. It is, bring it in here, Minky Blue. Minky Blue is Black woman owned. It's travel bags that she produces, and they're just so phenomenal. They have all different type of compartments, and they just work with you seamlessly as you travel, or even in just your day-to-day things that you do. She has a patent on these bags, and she's just doing phenomenal. So check out Minky Blue, Nkeeblue.com. She's also at Macy's.com. Shop at Macy's.com for sure, but check out her website there. Okay, I just wanted to make sure that you guys were aware of her bags there, because I'm so proud of what she's producing there. So now, without further delay, I'm going to bring in our guest, Miss Jade Stevens, and then I will do a little introduction.
Hey,
Hello, happy Friday to you.
happy
I'm
Friday.
going, happy Friday. I'm going to say a little bit of words so that our people can know. And I'll first say this is that when I learned so more and more about you, I'm like, you know what? We're cut from the same cloth, really. Everything that, because I wear many different hats, have many different skills and interests and things happening going on, and we're just really, it's like, just I like I said, cut from the same cloth. So here's a little bit about Miss Stevens. She's an award-winning marketing group guru, a public relations strategist, and writer with professional management experience in both the public and private sectors. She has engaged in community, government, and media relations, crisis communications, events and communications planning, philanthropic and cause-related marketing, social media, digital, and website content management. She is also proud to be able to offer her insights to her expansive list of clients from in the banking, entertainment, technology, healthcare, and financial services. And she has received coverage as well as Sweet Life SoCal magazine. But also too, she's featured in our current issue, but also to New York Times, Los Angeles Times, San Francisco Chronicle, Sacramento Bee, and Huffington Post, and more. And then she's also been a speaker. I hear the dog there. She's also been a speaker at California State University Dominguez Hills, and is a past president of the Young Professionals at Public Relations Society of America. She attended the University of Redlands, Bachelor of Science in Public Relations and Advertising from uh, uh, CSU Dominguez Hills and a master's in business administration. And what caught me was that you say she lives in Los Angeles and Inland Empire. I mean, that put the cherry on the top for me because I was born in Riverside, so I have roots
What?
in the Empire. And then it's just so amazing how we are just like so aligned.
What? Look,
Without further ado, this is Miss Jade Stevens. Please welcome here today to Sweet Talk.
thank you. And I definitely have to give a shout out to my friends in the Inland Empire. Look, we are coming up. Not many people, when I was growing up, were familiar with, the IE Riverside. I grew up in Moreno Valley. But it's good to know that you and I and all of my fellow IE friends are staying connected and moving
Mhm.
on to high places like this. That's amazing. Fun fact.
Exactly, exactly. I giggled when I saw that because I was like, wow, this is just too unreal. But anyway, our show today, and it's so appropriate that it's during Earth Month, as this topic is very timely for this. I'm going to take it back because I was mentioning about how giddy I got, and I made the call. I received an email from someone about your it's not more than a project; it's a foundation. And then I said, "That's Jay. Jay's doing that, really?" And so I immediately gave you a call, and I said, "Tell me about this project." It's called 40 Acres Conservation League. And so I'm going to let you explain it a little bit, but when she starts to tell the story, you can see why I'm so excited. So tell us, what is 40 Acres Conservation League?
Yeah, so I am the president and co founder of the 40 Acre Conservation League, which is a nonprofit land conservancy which was created with the goal of fostering greater human connections to nature. It's no secret that we are extremely focused on helping people of color, more specifically the Black community, connect with the culture. And, this really came from my love for the outdoors. Thank you for reading off my bio. And I'm sure those of you that are listening are kind of like, well, how did someone who's like this marketing person kind of fall into this? And I'd say outside of the work that I do within marketing, I'm an avid outdoor person. I cycle for fun. I actually race too. I'm often seen not racing, but riding along the Santa Monica Mountains, riding in the forest, riding in Los Angeles forest, and really any trail that takes me along the coastline. And what I saw is once I left LA and started to move into other counties and move up, around Southern California and Northern California, I noticed that there weren't really many people that looked like me on these routes and rides that I did. And I thought that was interesting because I love the outdoors. There's a very close knit community of cyclists, Black cyclists who love to go outdoors. But whenever we, would take a rest stop, at the top of a mountain after, a 5,000 foot climb or a 3 hour ride, we didn't always feel welcome, where we were riding to. And so I pushed myself to really ask, why is that the case? And being connected to a few entrepreneurs in the space, we came across the concept of land conservation and realized that it is not on accident that we don't see people like us outdoors, because the industry of the outdoor economy and land conservation, there's, a very small percentage of people of color, Black leaders in this space. And so being the entrepreneur that I am and being around this great group, we really challenged ourselves to figure out, what can we do to make this a more inclusive economy? And that is what gave birth to the 40 Acre Conservation League. So yes, we are a nonprofit land conservation, but the way that we look at this is we wanted to create this organization so that we could create an opportunity to eliminate the barriers that prevent people of color from enjoying the outdoor economy. And from there, we've really hit the ground running. And I'd say it's a marathon, but it feels like we're sprinting because so many great things are happening and we are, figuring out and really putting plans in place. But it really just came from not seeing people like you and I outdoors and falling into the land conservation space and realizing there's a space for us here.
Yes, and I was telling you earlier that this like marries in a few different aspects of what we as Black people too care about. We care about, definitely have interest in a history of land ownership, seeking it, working hard for it, wanting to maintain it and have it. And so land ownership is so real for us, but also caring about our environment, our surroundings, about the earth, about how we take care of it and what we do within it. And then and so we, with this project here, it's like we've been doing it, and there's a lot. There's ski clubs, there's hiking clubs, there's stories of our experience with land ownership, like Bruce's Beach, like Black Wall Street, and so on and so forth. But it's like, what is there that is like bringing it together and really making it so that we can um, hone in on it and take it a step further. Um, so with that, wanting to know was, did you explain how was it formed? Um,
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah. But you said a lot of great things that I wanted to lean a little bit more
okay,
in on. One for sure is the history and our relationship with the outdoors. We and also climate change and environmental justice. I think I'm going to talk about that one first because it really struck something that I wanted to call out. I know that when we're talking about the environment and protecting it and being mindful of nature, when it comes to that, when it comes to the Black and Latino communities, when we talk about how concerned are you around climate change and the impact that we're seeing, it's number one for us. And I think because we know that the areas that we live in will be impacted first when we're talking about air pollution, land pollution, land that
good
we have
point.
access to. So we care about it. But there's also this myth that we're not concerned about the outdoors because you may not see us there. And so, again, talking about the formation of the 40 Acre Conservation League, being someone that enjoys the outdoors and me also being very mindful about my carbon footprint and what I'm giving back into our environment.
Hmm.
Yeah, like if we're not there, if we don't own land, if we're not connected to the outdoors, then there is this sense of, well, how can I make impact if I don't own land myself? And so when we thought about that, we really wanted to show all of the different ways through land conservation and ways of just getting outdoors to reestablish that relationship that we have with the outdoors. A funny story that, I say when we talk about this, to further emphasize how much we love the outdoors, is I love to travel. I'm a millennial. Everybody in my, friends group, we love to travel. And where do we go? We go overseas. We're going to the Caribbean. We're going to Europe. And what are we doing? We're kayaking down the river. We are camping outdoors. We're going to Jamaica and hanging out on the beaches. We love the outdoors.
Yes.
But there's a reason why we are willing to go into debt and travel into other countries to places to enjoy their outdoors and not our own backyard. And the reason is because historically there has been systemic racism, there have been barriers that have prevented us from, actually enjoying and owning the land that we have in our outdoors. And so that is what 40 acres is meant to lean more into. You can't tell us that we don't enjoy the outdoors because we're traveling to other countries to do this. But for
Hmm.
some reason, people that look like you and I, we will not go to our state parks, our national parks that are free that we can drive to within, 30 minutes, an hour,
Yeah,
depending on where you are, 2 hours
yeah,
away. And it's
yeah.
free.
I think it's a part of tradition too, though. Most of our counterparts, the white families and stuff, they traditionally packed up and went to the national parks and stuff. And we weren't able to do that. So what did we do? We had our backyard barbecues, you know, or the
Yeah.
local parks and set up a picnic there or something
Yep.
like that. So
Yep.
I think one of the reasons why that is so is because of the traditions and the things that we were relegated to be able to do or not be able to do, that caused that. But I'm sorry to break off on you, but
No, that's a good point.
I don't think it's because we don't have the interest. I just think it's
Exactly.
just how things happen over time.
Yeah, and I mean, these are just natural human tendencies, right? Like we want to go places where we, one, feel safe, and two, feel welcome. Going back even to like backyard boogies, I remember not too long ago, right? It was a social media trend, like backyard Becky can't go to the park because, I forgot of the one in New York where it was something with Cooper where they got, the police called on them for bird watching, right?
Yes,
Or,
yes,
like we try to go outdoors, but if we look a little suspicious and we go somewhere that we're
yeah,
not commonly seen, the cops are being called on us. We're made to feel uncomfortable. So it's a natural tendency to go to places where we feel welcomed and feel safe. And we, with the work that we're doing with the land conservation, are trying to create more spaces here in California. But, the concept could eventually expand. But the idea is we're trying to create places that are here, home, for us to feel more welcome. And so that's a huge part that we're looking into as we acquire land. How do we create more welcoming space for people of color to enjoy the outdoors the way that it was intended to?
Is this a an opportunity where it's a call to the public, the community to also participate in assisting with acquiring land?
Yeah, so I think the call is to become more educated, and that's the first step that we are really looking more into. Many see this as a very mystical experience as to how do you go about acquiring land outside of home ownership, right? And so when we compare this to home ownership, there's a lot of workshops, there's programs, there are services that are there to help people wrap their mind around home ownership. But there are not as many programs or opportunities for those that are interested in maybe farming or again conserving land the way
Mm,
that we have, right? It's just not something that is extremely accessible. There are programs out there, there are training, there is education around it. And so we're looking into really just bringing more awareness into what land conservation is. And so, shameless plug for Black Conservation Week, which is coming up May 8th through the 13th, where we're focusing on how to educate more on what land conservation is, and letting people know that it's accessible, it's possible. But the same way for those of your viewers who are home ownership, there's a lot of research and planning that takes into place to get to that point to own a home. It's the same thing for owning land. And so we want to create more opportunities to access resources so people can understand what that is. So I would say thank you for that plug. Please follow us and stay tuned for Black Conservation Week, where we will be sharing more details on what it means to acquire land and what are some of the processes that need to be put in place for that.
so wonderful. That was kind of like a little bit down the line,
I
but while you
know.
said it, I wanted to go ahead and plug it.
Thank
Um,
you.
and
Yeah.
so another thing is how does Black managed conservations contribute to California's environmental goals?
Yeah, so two-part way of looking at it. I didn't really get into the background of the name, 40 Acre Conservation League. It's exactly how it sounds for those of you that remember, upon abolishing slavery, what was promised to us was the 40 acres and the mule concept, and we have yet to realize our 40 acres. And so, having more Black conservation, more people of color in the conservation space is a new way, I think, for us to realize what owning 40 acres might look like. We're certainly looking beyond that, but where we are today, we're really helping to change that conversation around what 40 acres could look like for, a person of color or someone that is Black. But in the same conversation, going back to my earlier note about the urgency around climate change, environmental protection, there are goals set out by the governor in the state of California to do something similar to the concept that is being led by the president, which is 30 by 30. And so what that means is the state of California is very interested in finding ways to preserve 30% of the state's land and water use resources in California by 2030. But not only do they want to protect and conserve it, they want to do it in a very inclusive way. And so how do they do that is by supporting organizations like 40 Acre in those goals of conserving and protecting the land and waterways here in California. So it's really important for us, everyone, to be aware of this goal and how we can play a part in it so that we can be more inclusive in reaching the state's goals and sharing some of our experiences, the things that we expect when it comes to protecting the outdoors. And so we're really hoping to help drive that conversation and help the state of California reach that goal.
And also I would love to be able to get more information about that so we can continue to share that information, because whatever it also helps support for 40 Acre Conservation League, then we want to make sure that we lend our support for that, because it's very needed and very timely.
Thank you.
I had a question about where you anything related to reparations, the policies that's trying to take shape, or organizations or something that working on it. Are you been in touch with that at all?
Yeah. So I believe you're talking about the reparations task force, right? So we are excited to have received their support. They did add some language in their report into the importance around conservation and supporting Black-owned organizations like us in the conversation around land conservation. So we're really happy to have that type of language included in a report like that, because that report was groundbreaking. I think it's like 200 pages. It's pretty long, but you got to dig in there when it talks about, what needs to be done when it comes to reparations. And so we're extremely proud to be considered in that language. I think the other thing to consider is going back to that historical note around not ever receiving the land that was promised to us. When we're talking about generational land wealth, that estimated loss is $326 billion that we have lost through land ownership.
Wow.
So by not owning that land at that time, over these decades, or probably a century now, right? That's the amount of money that should have been poured into the Black community and realized through businesses, through home ownership, through, just family income, right? When we compare our,
And I wonder,
oh, I was gonna
and
say
I'm
like
wondering
our,
what is the appreciation of that? That's just a singular type of an amount that we have, a stat, but what could have like been a benefit from that would really accounts for a whole larger number off of that.
exactly.
So it's just astounding to hear that.
Yeah. And so how do we make up for that? How do we, and I don't think we'll find the answer today, but like in terms of what we're doing, it's really thinking about and understanding that land ownership is generational wealth. I know we were talking earlier about this, but I think it's ironic to be in this space knowing that my family history also is connected to land ownership. Growing up, as a kid on my father's side, I remember our family reunions when we would go back to Louisiana and going out to this, I think it was maybe like 20 acres of land that had farms and agriculture and a couple of like homes that, like my family and cousins lived on. And I remember even at a young age that my father and my great grandparents would say, like, we will never share or sell this land because it represents who we are as,
Yeah.
a family, but like this is our wealth. This is something that we will continue to pass down and pass down. And that was carried over when my family moved here to Los Angeles, when we were able to purchase duplexes that family could live in, and really use that as a way to keep wealth within our family. And so when we're considering that land loss applied to the entire Black community, we're just talking about California, but like across the country, there's going to need to be new conversations to be had, more opportunities to try things like this to really make up for that loss, because we do know that there is generational wealth that comes with owning land.
So true. Just like you, we the same. We have in our Harris family, we have not just land like in Texas, but also mineral rights. It's
Wow,
another level to it.
that
Yeah.
is
So
wow.
I mean, and it's like you say to yourself, you're thinking that really your mindset is like we are lacking um, lacking having that. But then when your family starts telling you, or when certain people pass away or whatever, and then you hear that you have inherited this percentage or whatever, like where did that come from? We have that, really,
Yes, yes,
and
yes.
it's like, wow, it just is so revealing. So yeah, we have a history of this, and we have a right to it, and we have um really, and the obligation to see to it that we get back our equitable share of what is due us, right?
Correct. Yeah. And I mean that this is what we've been talking about, but this myth that we are not connected to nature, we don't care about it. It runs in
Yeah.
our blood. It runs in our family. We have agricultural roots, and I think, living in the city, we may feel disconnected for a bit just because being a farmer is hard, maintaining land is hard, but
Hmm.
we have it. Like you said, whenever we hear about people who are passing, we learn about this inheritance that we've had. And I think it goes back to kind of like, what can people do today? It's really education. It's
Hmm.
unfortunate that we're hearing about families selling back land for a large amount of dollars, like Bruce's Beach, right? It was such a community win to hear that the Bruce family was able
Yeah.
to receive that land back. They worked so hard for it. And then, what was it? Maybe a year or two later, they made the decision to sell the land back to the county to receive a sizable amount, which I think is great. Like, look, invest the money
Hmm.
where you want if that's what you
Hmm.
want to do.
Hmm.
But a part of me also thinks like, I wonder, while they were fighting so hard to get the land, like what other conversations were being had to prepare them to maintain the land, because
Yes.
that's the reality that my generation, anyone that is inheriting things from their
Hmm.
great grandparents and grandparents,
Hmm.
hey, this person has passed, you received this land, have
Hmm.
at it. It can be
Yeah.
really overwhelming. It can be intimidating. And so,
Hmm.
understanding the regulations, the zonings, the policies, who you need to talk to, mineral rights is a huge thing in itself. But in addition to mineral rights, there's water rights, timber rights. All of that is very out of reach right now for our community. And I think understanding and first educating yourself and knowing not only how it works, but how you can benefit on it, how you can really build wealth off of that is so
Right.
crucial for our community. And bringing it back to the Bruce's Beach or Bruce's family, like if they
Hmm.
had that type of knowledge beforehand, maybe they
Hmm.
would have made the decision to keep it. We don't know.
Yeah.
But
Well,
I
which is
there's
goes back to education,
yes,
like
yep,
you said,
yep, yep.
and to be able to make more options, and even if they had the education, and let me back up because I don't know what they know, but um, there still can be where they still it's not their wherewithal to be able to maintain this property. So beyond that, to me, it would have seemed to be best to be able to have it where, okay, it's still reverted back to, well, the county, but let's still see if it's feasible to be able to remain in the community, the Black community, or what have you, where there may be an option, a public option, or something that it
Exactly.
could still remain in Black hands.
Yep.
But that step wasn't taken.
Yeah, and it just really falls down to education. That's where we are right now.
Hmm.
We need more successes like the Bruce family to be seen. We
Hmm.
don't. It doesn't need to be an anomaly. Like that's one way out. And again, like I support their decision. But
Hmm.
to that point, yeah, like if there was a way to consider a public option or to make sure that it stays within, Black hands,
Hmm.
then I think it's our job for the 40 Acre Conservation League and other organizations that exist to make that education available for people to make those decisions.
Mm. So with 40 acres, is there any particular current things that you're working on? I know that Black Conservation Week is coming up, but is there anything aside from that? And then also, how can people get involved?
Yeah. Well, just to talk a little bit more about Black Conservation Week, this is the first. Well, it could be. I believe there's not any other Black Conservation Week that exists, but this is our way to really establish that connection back with nature through land ownership. And so this year's theme is loyal to the soil, where we're welcoming people back home to the great outdoors. And it's a really great opportunity to one, make our legislators aware of the unique needs and policy that impacts Black land ownership through conservation. And so we're really looking forward to having that. And we've been able to secure a very nice host committee, including Mike Gibson, Assemblymember Mike Gibson, Chris Holden, Isaac Bryan, Blanca Pacheco, Lori Wilson, Reggie Jones Sawyer, and a few others. Please do not get me if I didn't mention your name. It's all in our social.
Right.
But we're really excited to have this type of support. And we're looking forward to having a conversation about how we can continue to bring more people of color closer to nature through activism within the environment and land ownership. And
Mhm.
so I think this is a great opportunity for those of you who are following us either through the website, and our social is also there at 40 Acre League for Twitter. I would say follow us there just to kind of start to take in the information we'll be sharing. We'll be sharing like resources daily on ways that people can become a little bit more informed.
Mhm.
Outside of Black Conservation Week, we are, actively looking for opportunities to acquire land. We are in escrow for a piece of land in Northern California that we are really looking forward to locking down very soon.
Wonderful.
Yeah, so I think with those two projects, I think it's really taking the opportunity to educate others to follow in our steps so that there will not just be us anymore. There's more of us in the outdoor economy. And then really just making sure that we're getting it right when it comes to acquiring land and really actualizing our vision of what we're saying we need to see, right? And so when we're
Mhm.
able to, close escrow with this piece of land,
Mm.
it's an opportunity for us to do a lot of test and learns, right? Like, how do we bring on more diverse enterprises and vendors into the outdoor space? We kind of glazed over it with like timber rights, mineral rights, and water, but like those are all job opportunities for us to maintain
Mm.
the land. How can
Mm.
we bring more people of color into there? Because right now there's not many.
Job opportunities. Love it. Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're exploring that. We're really just really getting a sense of all of the opportunities that can be made accessible from an economic perspective as we continue to acquire this land. And so I don't know that we're at the point to, seek vendors, but I think if you are following us on, our social or on our website, it's really a great way for us to just continue to have the conversation. And so it's a two-part economic and then really just like social support, community support.
Wonderful. Wonderful. So, uh, you know, like I said, you're just a woman after my own heart in terms of all the things that you are doing. And it was funny because yes, I'm reading your bio, and mostly it had nothing to do with what we're talking about today, but it was representative of what I'm talking about. How we have many interests, we have many things that we're passionate about and that we're working on. So you never know what we're up to next.
I know. We are definitely the same. But yeah. I mean, I think my philosophy is really doing it for the culture. Issa Rae said it best, rooting for everybody black. And so I think that my heart just goes out to things that I see not being as inclusive as they could be, and really just asking that question again, like seeing that there are probably one, if not none anymore, of black owned land conservation organizations, and
Hmm.
knowing how valuable that is, knowing what type of wealth has been generated by these larger land conservation organizations, we should be here. Why aren't we here?
Yeah.
And I wanna make that an opportunity for everyone. And I think like that's just how I look at it, right? How to be more inclusive. How can we make things more accessible? And so when you hear me involved with something, just think about my philosophy. It's really
Hmm.
about how can we be more inclusive.
How can we be more inclusive? I love it. I love it. I have one last question. What intrigued me because, we talk about land ownership, and a lot of times we're thinking a house, a home or whatever where we live and stuff. But when I came to your website and saw that it was about land, and so for that, and of course conservation. I clicked and I got it. But are you envisioning that it would lead to like the parks or the outdoor activities that we will partake in these lands? But and then also too, you would have where it's actual in the field education, like learning about things about the environment and taking them through there to and a tour, as it were, what have you. Is that what you're envisioning for with
Yeah.
your foundation?
Yeah, I mean, the short answer is yes. And I think in reality, like, this is just a moment in time, but we want this to be more than a moment. Like, what we're doing is what we hope to be a start of a movement. And so there's this concept behind, I'm just going to call it modern homesteading, where there is this interest among our community to be in a place where there's more space, they're more connected to nature, and there's this conversation around, yes, love living in the city, but sometimes I need to get out of this fast-paced hubble life, and I just want to
Hmm.
go outdoors. I want to be in a little more of a
Hmm.
slower paced type of lifestyle. Maybe I garden now, but maybe I could farm and like have more crops. Again, going back to like nature and like preparing for climate change, there's just so much interest into doing
Yeah.
things with our hands and like creating for ourselves.
Hmm.
And so all of those things, like you said, touring the outdoors, education, nature, training, workshops, yes, like absolutely. I think that's the vision. And it is still all centered around education. We would love at one point to bring people to the spaces that we have, acquired, and really showing them
Hmm.
not only what is here to enjoy, right, but
Hmm.
like how they can also be a
Hmm.
landowner, how they can take
Yeah.
advantage of this. And, whether it's being with us and if we're getting land that has agricultural resources, if you are interested in becoming a farmer, how do you do that? Maybe you don't like the land that we have. Maybe you want to find something elsewhere. How do I start this? Come
Hmm.
and work with us through these educational resources and workshops, and take advantage of it so you can do it on your own. We're seeing this movement. There's so many influencers out there.
Yeah.
I think it's the Black Girly Farmer. There's a few others that are sharing their notes as to how they were able to acquire a small set of land outside of owning a home, and they are living off of the land. I think the easiest connection is through farming, but there's other things that can be done when you are owning land.
Mm-hmm.
And I think a part of it is just becoming more aware and educated on what those opportunities are.
For sure. Wonderful. You were so awesome.
Thank you.
It's such a pleasure. I'm so honored that I walked into was a assembly member's office
Oh,
one day and met you.
yes, yes, yes.
And from then on, it was just been an amazing, good journey of friendship, getting to know you and stuff. And I look forward to being a sister soldier in the trenches with you and spreading the word. Please share. Make sure you have the information to me about Black Conservation Week
Yes.
and all the other things that you're doing. We'll continue to support and share with you. So, everybody, let me put that banner up one last time. Black
Woo.
Conservation Week is May 8th through the 13th. Check out 40 acres. What is it? 40 acre
League.org.
league.org to learn more about it and how you can participate. And just follow Miss Jade Stevens. She's a badass.
Thank
She
you.
is a badass.
Thank you so much for giving me this platform. I love talking with you, and I'm really excited to know that we have so much in common. And it was just really great to connect with you today. So thank you.
Wonderful, wonderful. So yeah, check out Suite Life SoCal magazine. Jade is featured in our spring issue. That's uh, SuiteLifeSocal.com. Suite Life SoCal magazine. And we'll give everybody back the rest of your Friday. Enjoy the weekend, and thank you so much, Dave. See you later.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.
Bye bye.